I can literally see pure evil in you. You're a terrifying human being, but I'm gonna hang out with you anyway.
But they had no sexual arrangement. Metheny had struck Kemper twice and told her to take her pants off. She had run from the trailer, but he was able to overpower her. Obviously, he's a large man. Choke her, drag her back in, and then pull her pants off. He had told her, quote, "I'm going to kill you and bury you in the woods with the other girls." She fought back because she's a badass. And she had refused to go down without a fight. So...
Bravo. Bravo.
She is a much smaller person from the descriptions that I've seen on it, but it's definitely been something that I haven't found a ton of information on her. I can see why I wouldn't want to be known either, that I was in a horrible situation like this. Let's be fair.
We talked about this, especially in the Hello Kitty episode. Humans have an innate desire to live and survive. Mm-hmm. So you're going to fight back. Yeah. That's the only way out of that situation.
He said, "I got her in there and started to rip her clothes off and knock the hell out of her. She was screaming. I just kept laughing at her."
Because he's a sick son of a bitch.
Yep. She had taken her chance then to run and had bolted for the window and was able to escape over a stack of 10-foot-tall pallets and over the 8-foot-tall chain-link fence with the barbed wire on it.
She's like a spider monkey.
That's actually, when he's recounting it, he actually calls, he's like, she scrambled up it like a monkey. Yep.
Well.
Get it.
Wow.
Dude, isn't it cool?
She's so impressive.
Oh, right? She was like, "I'm out of here." So she ran down the street. She was able to reach a gas station and call the police, who had arrested him on December 15th, 1996. So after the police had gone to arrest him, they had expected a fight, especially knowing that he had a reputation as a hothead and knowing that he was a super large man in comparison to most humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
hard to take down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't even come up to like his tummy because obviously I'm short.
You're also a tiny human.
Yeah, it's not my fault. He didn't run and had immediately confessed to his misdeeds, as well as declaring, quote, "I'm a very sick person." Because duh.
Maybe he was gonna try to convince people that he needed to not be a prisoner, but needed mental help instead?
No. Not once did he ever try for insanity defense or to try to make himself look insane. He does attribute his killing spree, he does attribute it to him being furious and flying into a rage about his wife.
Yeah, his wife and baby.
But then decisively liking it afterwards. So he knows that this is what's happening. He's just embodying it and hugging it, pretty much.
That was the spark.
Yeah. His confessions during the trial would shock those involved and give Tiny a new and more infamous nickname, the Cannibal. While recounting his devious crimes, he would detail how he had dismembered his victims, keeping the meatiest parts in his freezer in Tupperware bowls, while dispensing all of the unsuitable components in shallow graves and under pallets at his workplace.
I bet his bosses were so thrilled.
No one ever found them. That's a thing.
Oh, I meant after this all came out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. When he was hiding these pieces, it wasn't even like he was hiding them well. They just weren't seen.
Do you think that... Obviously, the police had to go in there, and there had to be an investigation, and they had to search for things.
He drew them a map. And when they couldn't find it, and when the cadaver dogs couldn't find it, he brought them to the places that he had buried them.
But do you think that after the fact, maybe they would have missed some things, and people just found them over time, and that was mortifying?
No.
Do you think they got everything?
He had said that there were only the two women buried on the property, and then obviously they found the third. He never felt shameful about what he did. He took a lot of the things. Like I said, he kept the meatiest parts in his freezer in Tupperware bowls.
That's so gross.
Yep.
It's so gross. Why are you doing this to me?
He had opened a small roadside barbecue stand near his trailer and had mixed the, quote, special meat with pork and beef.
Ugh.
He would tell the police that no one would complain about the meat tasting funny. As he viewed his victims as a meat source, he also admitted to acquiring more when he ran low. Quote, "I had real roast beef and pork sandwiches. They were very good. The human body taste was very similar to pork. If you mix it together, no one can taste the difference.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. Not okay.
Yep. I have a pearl of wisdom actually having to do with that later.
Well, but we have had this talk before about how people reportedly taste like pork.
Yeah. And the robot says they taste like bacon.
And now here we go. And
I also had that conversation the other day again. During his case, he had showed almost no remorse and had even been prideful when talking about his previous crimes. Psychologists would note that his MO was, quote, brutal, sexual attacks that seemed to indicate a psychotic aggression against a certain type of woman.
Okay.
Sex workers with addiction.
Yeah, well, I could see that. And for me, I almost wonder, was it more the addiction than the sex work?
I think it was specifically his estranged wife, which was the problem, because she did both after
she left him.
Yeah.
Do we know if his wife had ever been a sex worker before that?
No.
We're not
sure. No information on that.
He tried assaulting and murdering his friend,
yeah.
who was not a sex worker, but she had an addiction problem.
She was.
Oh, she was?
She was, yeah. I didn't say it because I didn't think it was pertinent. I was focusing more on her escape and her triumphant
well, exactly, because we
monkey crawl up a fucking pallet, a 10-foot tall stack of pallets. When asked if he had felt sorry, he said, quote, "The only thing I feel bad about in any of this is that I didn't get to murder the two motherfuckers I was really after. And that's my ex-old lady and the bastard she got hooked up with."
Oh, that's dark.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't get any
That's
better.
Real dark.
It doesn't get better. After a short deliberation and after he begged for death, he was sentenced to death in 1998, which he responded with, quote, "The words 'I'm sorry' will never come out, for they would be a lie. I am more than willing to give up my life for what I have done to have God judge me and send me to hell for eternity. I just enjoyed it." Yeah, slow blink. It's fine. It's like every story you tell me where it's just silent for forever, and I think that my computer shut off.
I don't even know how to... I don't know how to process what I'm feeling.
In 2000, his sentence was overturned, and the 2 counts of life imprisonment plus 50 years additional for the kidnap of Kemper were his new sentence. It was due to an appeal that had argued, and this is when I had told you I was looking through the court cases, the only one I could find was his appeals.
Uh-huh.
He had actually weirdly begged for death and then appealed it on purpose. So it wasn't an actual mandatory thing. He wasn't doing it just because it existed. He was appealing because obviously he had a change of heart eventually. So his sentence was overturned due to an appeal that had argued that he wasn't intentionally aiming for a felony robbery. For Kathy's murder, they had argued that he didn't intend to rob her of her items post-mortem. He didn't keep her items. He said he had buried them. And that, coupled with reasonable doubt in a felony murder, saved him from being... Yep. Don't hit things. Stop hitting the air.
I'm so mad.
I know.
I'm so angry.
Well, he had already gotten off for possibly 5 murders pretty immediately and then continued to murder more heinously than before.
This business about robbery that wasn't the blah, blah, blah.
Well, his lawyers, let's be fair, smart lawyers.
I mean, that is their job. That's what they're getting paid for.
Yeah, which, I mean, I'm not into it, but like...
I'm not into it either.
I do appreciate intelligence.
But somebody was going to have to take that case.
Yeah. He had spent 20 years in the Western Correctional Institution in Cumberland, in his own jail cell, until he was found dead at 62. The cause was never made public. There was supposedly an investigation, but nothing was ever said about it.
Wow.
Before I read the last words of wisdom I have for this, I'm going to tell you some fun facts that are not that fun.
I can't get over the fact that we don't know how he died.
I think he was just old. Plus, he was a heavy man. A lot of people think he just had a heart attack because obviously your heart doesn't love being...
I wondered that.
Yeah, even if you're just very tall and the amount of blood that your heart has to pump through your body is pretty stressing.
You're stressing me out because I'm tall.
I know you're tall.
Now I'm stressed, Whitney.
I'll never die. I have like a really low heartbeat and a sub temperature, so I'm never gonna die. I'm a fucking vampire. So, fun facts, I wrote in my notes, quote, artist. You can purchase some of his artwork on many sites, including murderauction.com. He calls his company, or he called, because obviously he is not alive any longer, Tiny Arts. All of them that are his actual artwork are marked with a bloody thumbprint. All of them were done from jail.
Gross.
Yep.
So gross.
So, words of wisdom from the late horrible man.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, so the next time you're riding down the road and you happen to see an open pit beef stand that you've never seen before, make sure you think about this story before you take a bite of that sandwich. Sometimes you never know who you may be eating. Haha.
Please leave that in.
That was my story.
That's... Yeah. You got me all fucked up. I can't handle that.
Well, I told you I was trying to surprise you with the sandwiches.
Incredible story.
It was awful, right?
I was awful, and I had no idea that was something that didn't happen that long ago. Because, we talk about this all the time. To me, if it's the 90s, that still feels pretty recent.
Reveal me.
I'm really excited to tell my story, and I feel like anybody who knows me personally has heard me talk about this before because of how obsessed I am with it, and they are also familiar with the location. I'm going to tell you the story about the house.
Awesome. Ty is going to buy this house.
I would like to one day when it's not already owned by somebody else. I think somebody owns it right now. I'm not sure. But there's this house, and I used to have to drive this weird way to get to Great American Bagel because it was located in a really stupid area, and I'd have to go through the residential and old historic part of Frankfort to get there. And I started driving past this house every time. It's a big, looming, spooky Victorian house, and it looks so different than every other house in that neighborhood.
Right.
And I just got so weirdly obsessed with it. And then I started researching it online to see if it was owned, if it was going up for sale, if there's a story behind it. And I think that sometimes people end up becoming so magnetically drawn to haunted locations that they end up purchasing them and getting into that situation and realizing that it's haunted after the fact. So today we're going to talk about Frankfort, Illinois' token haunted house. As a child growing up in the Frankfort area, Kevin Ziegler loved the 4-story Victorian house at the corner of Sauk Trail and Center Road in historic Frankfort. Mm-hmm. In fact, Kevin loved it so much that he would eventually come to own the house one day. He purchased the home in 1999 after it had been sitting abandoned for 15 years. Almost immediately after moving in, he began to experience paranormal phenomena in the house. So this is what would happen. Silverware would disappear. Doors would start to open in the middle of the night by themselves. Kevin had even seen some coffee mugs on the counter explode.
Oh.
For the next part of this story to make sense, I'm going to have to talk a little bit about the Frankfurt Fall Fest, and okay. I promise that there's a point.
Cool. Question on the exploding. Being a skeptic believer, were there hot or cold items in the mug? Do we know?
Doesn't say.
Okay. Because for me...
I know that that's a thing, because science.
Yeah, because science.
Kevin actually was a skeptic, though. He tried really hard to explain these things away for a long time.
Which I get.
So each year, Frankfurt does this big fall fest. It's always in September over Labor Day weekend, and it's always held in the old-timey historic district in the Frankfurt area, which is really adorable, and it feels like it's something that's been pulled out of a movie.
a granary that was from forever ago when there used to be farmland there, and then also a lot of candle shops.
The trolley barn, yes. It's such a cute area. And they even have the old train station.